so long as like alchemy.
Season out of Kentucky, number 0, Marcus Cousins. The Warriors head coach.
The debut of Boogie at Oracle Arena. Now, those of you that tuned into my live, or what was supposed to be my live for the second time, did not work out. You maybe got a glimpse of some alchemy rage there. And I was fortunate enough to transfer my anger onto my little space heater, which I broke. None of my equipment took the flurry of my anger, but I had a guy come out and check my stuff on Monday. I did a test run in the afternoon, and then I go live, when it's time, and it didn't work. So here it is this morning. I'm like, well, let me try and stream privately here and see if it works this morning. Smooth as butter. So I don't know if it's my service throttling me or what's going on. I may just change providers. But what I've decided to do, I hate disappointing you guys, and I hate not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, is I think I'm going to release like a short pod exclusively for the tier 2 patrons moving forward until I can figure it out, until I can change providers or ensure that I can have solid streams. Pause. Anyway, let's get into this. This game was super fast and intense. Watch the double screen here for Redick. Boom, Embiid pops out. I believe it's the Spanish pick and roll, right? D'Antoni loves to use that, and Redick comes out and pops quick. Defensively, man, this game was kind of disgusting from a Warrior standpoint in my second viewing of this. You see KD, that pass is way too far, and the underlining tone, you see back-to-back turnovers, the pace was very fast, but forcing the ball to DeMarcus early on. Everybody kind of knew this was his matchup with Joel. And you see Ben Simmons, who is really a much larger individual than Draymond Green, kind of big boying him in the paint. I don't think people would expect that, but we saw that several times. There's the dime from DeMarcus, and Steph's been doing this a lot lately. 2-foot planning, taking the contact, and finishing. Here we go out in transition, and McKinney really hurt us defensively, man. McKinney is not the sharpest tool in the shed defensively, I must say. He doesn't anticipate switching, and so a lot of the time it's too late when you have a fast-paced team and a lot of shooters. Here's the turnover, and it's the low lob, but Slim finishes anyway. Now, the game started off so fast, I didn't even mention Klay Thompson was out with bubble guts, and so McKinney started in his place, and that's what I was talking about, him hurting us defensively. Not only defensively, the spacing became a huge issue. There's DeMarcus taking the charge. Watch this right here. Shoot that. He's just been a reluctant. It was the first game. It looked like he was going to pull 4 or 5 threes a game, right? It's almost as if he wants to prove that he can still be physical and get to the rim, which is fine. But you look at the way the game's being played today. Just shoot the 3, DeMarcus. It's easier. You can do it. Fake dribble handoff. Draymond left hand. But early on, like I had said, you could tell the team's agenda was to let Boogie kind of operate here. Here he is, ISO move and gets the finish. He had 5 assists in the first quarter. But it was an absolute agenda, and sometimes it got them away from just making the basketball play. Steph splash. Beyond just McKinney, though, overall, the defensive effort, I just don't think there was enough communication. Part of it was, I think, the pace of the game. When you're moving so fast, there's not enough time to communicate. Philly does very well running into screens, so you don't have time to communicate it. There's the back door to Ben Simmons, and then Draymond deep. Look at the hands. This is just Steph hit some absolutely ridiculous leapfrog threes trying to draw the call. There's the 4-point play. And offensively, we got off to such a hot start. I think it kind of lulled them into playing too loose. Great catch and finish from McKinney out in transition. Again, watch how fast Shamet comes firing off this. No time to communicate the switch, and this boy don't miss. The Squire from Sherwood Forest, the rookie. Very nice pickup for them. Here's a back door. I believe it's McKinney on this one. That's usually ran for KD. But so, McKinney, what he does bring over Klay is obviously finishing at the rim a little bit better, and then the offensive rebounding. But other than that, he was a complete minus. High off glass, the floater. Steph's been getting one of those a game, too. His finish game has been on fleek. Wilson Chandler, the off injured. And then this Australian 7-foot rookie. I was impressed with his physicality against DeMarcus, the UCLA product, but I guess he's a stretch 3 too. Warriors didn't know it either because they didn't even get a hand up. Another sloppy turnover. Ben, which hand's it going to be? Okay, both of them. The Australian kid I was alluding to is one Jonah Bolden. I've never heard of him, man, but he's a stretch big, and he contributed. There's Looney off the bench. I think it's safe to say his injury worries are kind of behind him, right? He's fluid, he's healthy, he's played enough. Now, Jimmy Butler had the spat with Brent Brown. He wants to run point. Well, here he is running point to close the quarter. Watch him get the ball to the shooter too late. So I just don't know. I know winning trumps all, but Jimmy Butler running point when you have Ben Simmons, I'm just not so sure about it. Now, both these guys, two of the best hands for big men in the league, and you saw both of them poke the ball away from each other on several occasions. There's Draymond telling their newest acquisition, Corey Brewer, sit down. This is really the most devastating move in his toolbox. Watch how smoothly he just pulls up off that pump fake. And at his size, it's really unguardable. You have to yield that. There's nothing you can do. Look at the help, though. 5 turnovers from Embiid in the first half. So his presence is always felt, but he didn't really dominate in this first half. And DeMarcus and the team helped that as well. Here's DeMarcus poking free, showing his hands, really an identical play. Now, Quinn Cook, you've got to feel this. I don't think Quinn should ever shoot a layup in the NBA. Like, just don't do it. I've just seen this happen too many times. He doesn't feel the defender. They're back the other way, and it's Shamet who, like I said, doesn't miss. More point Jimmy. Watch him completely ignore the corner shooter and take it into a very difficult shot. And then you're going to see one of the rare forced turnovers here, right? Corey Brewer, that's what he does. He's just a ball hawk and an effort guy. And then DeMarcus drawing another one. But the turnovers, the numbers weren't crazy high. It was just the way that they made the turnovers that were extra frustrating. Look at me now. And I honestly expected those two to get spicy, but I guess they have a friendly relationship. More Steph off head knock, Draymond in the post. And you can see at this point, it was really a back and forth game. After we got out to the big lead, it was a 15-2 run. Quinn Cook missed several wide open corner threes. Look at Loon bounce for that. One thing that's tricky about guarding Ben Simmons is watch how you gap him. Since you're gapping him so much, his usage of screens, slipping, and communicating is more difficult because you're never attached to him. So the screen, it's hard to anticipate it. You see Steph and Draymond miscommunicate there. The extra pass on the penetration had to be made all night because the lack of Clay, right? That there was more people in the paint with the absence of Clay. You ever notice the pattern of when Steph's really going and he's feeling it from three, that he's more susceptible to silly turnovers? It's like, because it's hand in hand. He's loose and he's feeling nice, so then he starts to make loose decisions. There's the mouse in the house. KD looked a bit off balance, and he was sped up and off balance, frankly, throughout this whole game. Credit Philly's length and physicality. More Steph, corner three ball. But like I said, it goes hand in hand. When he's really feeling it and he's loose, it means the shot's dropping, but he also makes plays like this, where he seems to really almost forget that there's defense. And it's kind of like a lack of respect for the opponent because everything's falling for him, so why not make this? Why not that? And he's almost testing the limits of what he can get away with. And it was these back-to-back turnovers here that were super frustrating. I think he had like 7 on the game, so he wasn't perfect. He may be perfect shooting the ball, but he had some poor decisions. That one, my goodness. I don't even think he brought it into his pocket. That was a Clay-like three in the corner. Look at the help on Embiid here. There's a little block party. You got 4 Warriors in the paint, but the problem is when you let the others for Philadelphia get off from the three-point line, they're difficult to beat, and that's what happened on Thursday night in Oracle. KD step-through dunk as we had a nice little flurry to end the half here after it was a back-and-forth intense pace, and then look at this, extra sauce, the windmill from the 7-2 Embiid to finish the half. You see the score, 7-point lead. Watch Steph completely die on this screen from Redick. And it's interesting, the psychology. Remember when this team was a third-quarter killer? Every third quarter, the Warriors would come out and kill teams. That's just not been the case this season. And I wonder what's the psychology behind that. Steph, the answer, and don't get me wrong, he kept us in the game, but it was the defensive end and the decision-making team-wide that was kind of disturbing. Like Draymond usually gives the ball up here. Look at him try to take the extra dribble, gets his pocket picked. There's the kickoff, Embiid. Not too many guys trying to take a charge from either of those guys. Boogie got the worst of it, got clipped on the knee and limped over to the sideline, but he would stay in the game. Here he is again, passing up the three. It's a nice head fake. And then he gets fouled twice on this play. I will say, we didn't feel like a home whistle, right? It kind of felt like we were in Philadelphia, if you ask the referees. Double foul ripped from both sides, and there was several kind of momentum swinging plays. So these two tag team the referees like this is ridiculous. And then it was Draymond on the sidelines firing Boogie up, encouraging him to stay engaged. So far so good with these two. It's been positive. And then watch Durant, who is off balance and sped up all game long. And I think Ben Simmons had a lot to do with, look at the lean. You see how he's leaning too forward, his momentum? That means that he's not setting his feet enough because you want to go straight up and down, right? Textbook shot. And KD, the three-point struggles continue. Muscala. There was a 42-point third quarter for the Sixers. there were about 4 or 5 baskets that were just like, oh man, okay, like heat checks, right? But when you turn the ball over and you're not communicating on defense, you allow teams to get hot. So that was the cost of it. Some of those ridiculous threes that Philadelphia made. There's the split from Boogie. And then here's the 1 3 that he did take, and it's an air ball. So I don't know what it is, because remember that first game against the Clippers, he hit 3 threes? And now it just seems like he lost his confidence very quickly from the arc. I think he needs to regain that, especially to stay on the floor. Simmons, the putback, and he had nice offensive numbers, but his impact was more defensively. Watch how fast KD, you see how he's not setting his feet there? And that's his spot, right? And styles make fights. This Philly lineup, their length and strength bothered Durant all night. The swing, McKinney, what are you doing? What are you doing, McKinney? I think McKinney is showing us that he won't be able to play in the playoffs unless it's in an emergency role. Steph, the slip, the splash. A lot has been talked about which hand Ben Simmons should be shooting with, and around the rim, obviously you can shoot with both, but you see how he took the contact and finished that? That, to me, you don't make that with your offhand. The way he took contact, sky hook with the right hand, there's just little signs that show that he really is right hand dominant. Durant, more off balance. He really had a miserable game and was hanging his head all game long. Another turnover. And really, it was kind of miraculous that Philly didn't pull away earlier in hindsight of watching how poorly we executed in this third quarter. Kerr, the timeout. More KD and his struggles. Now, part of it was Ben Simmons and their size, but the other part was no Clay. I'll hold it here. Look at the paint. It affects KD more than Steph because of where KD likes to operate. Because he likes the mid-range, the lack of Clay in the corner hurts him more than it would be for Steph, right, who's way out on the three-point line. There's a travel on Iguodala, just a terrible offensive set, while Steph got a breather here. To close the third, Embiid just went to bully ball, and he just bulldozed Looney, and it made you wonder, like, if DeMarcus wasn't healthy or on the roster, what would we do? How would we match up with him through the whole game, right? And that's the real question with Joel. He is absolutely the most dominant big man in the league, but will he hold up through the playoffs? Is it sustainable? Because he's very physical, and he plays with a high motor for his size, and so just don't know if it's sustainable all the way into the NBA Finals. Like, will he have this juice in the NBA Finals? Fourth quarter, Boogie's back in. Great contest on that shot. Let's pretend now, Sean is really Clay. Let's pretend Sean, right? That 7-footer doesn't come into the paint, and Steph has an easy left hand, probably an and one where he draws contact. Instead, it's an incredible, difficult shot. And S-Dot puts it back in, but you could see the lack of spacing started to frustrate everybody, particularly down the stretch when we were trying to get back in this game. And then check out these 2 turnovers. Predetermined reads, making up your mind before you see how the play plays out, just uncharacteristic. Frankly, the Warriors didn't deserve this game. Philadelphia executed better, and they played harder. When you see Iguodala throw a pass like that, right? So some out-of-character stuff happening, along with the Sixers role players shooting the ball well. It was a perfect storm at Oracle, and I thought this was game over here. What is it, an 8-point game? The Reggie Miller kick out and one for Jimmy Butler. And I was like, oh, okay, this feels like an L, right? That was the play to me. Silver lining, I guess, had to be Looney and his 14 off the bench and him really not batting an eye and adjusting his role coming back off the bench. Steph here, you can tell this is like a lack of spacing shot, right? Like he's just putting shit up like, damn, I'm not going to get all the way to the rim. I can't get the 3 off. Watch Durant finally set his feet, and he's rewarded for it. His only 3 of the game, and he's in a mini 3-point slump. 7 for his last 30 and hasn't hit more than 1 in the last 5 games. Shout out to whoever tweeted that out. And then this happens. Bang, bang call. It could have gone either way. Again, we weren't getting the whistle at home. The champs can't get the whistle at home, so I don't know what to say about that. But Draymond, he had seen enough, and he talks, and then he eventually gets the T. Situational awareness, though, you hate to give them an extra point at this point in the game, trying to come back here with under 5 minutes. They made some plays. They made a couple efforts here to try to get back in this, the dump off, KD, the dunk. And, when you have 2 MVPs and you have these flamethrowers, anything's possible, especially at home. Transition, Boogie, rumbling to the rim. I like that he's not afraid to try to make a big basket, but I just don't know if that's it. I'd almost rather him pull up, hand off to Steph, the relocation, the 3-ball, and there's more life. 5-point game, just over 2.5 remain. KD, it's just not a good shot. And he usually doesn't settle for the three, right? But I think it was almost his frustration. There's Steph trying to pump fake, and there's the effort, the length, and the size. So part of it was Philly's defense. Part of it was the spacing with no Clay, I think, forcing the Warriors into poor shot selection. There's the double. Draymond, you know he's going to make a defensive play at the end of the game. The kick out. Steph, I thought he should have pulled the three there. I thought he should have pulled the three there. And this is what happens when you're playing against a good defense. They make you play out of pocket. They make you make decisions you normally don't make. So let's credit Philadelphia. Then J.J. Redick, the 35-year-old with the dagger on the road. And the Philadelphia 76ers you could call it a statement, right? I know no Klay Thompson, but it was still a very impressive win on the end of a long West Coast road trip from the Sixers. Styles make fights. Joel Embiid is a problem. And if his battery is near full in a possible finals matchup, they could be the most difficult matchup coming out of the East for this Warriors team. I'm going to hit y'all, like I said, with some sort of pod or some sort of NBA Alchemy exclusive for you guys to make up for that live. And then I'm going to try and change providers if I can, because I love doing the lives. But until then, I'll have something exclusive for you probably by the end of the weekend. I'm out, y'all.
I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.